When you sign into your Covidence accounts, this is the first page you'll be taken to. This is the main dashboard for all the reviews that you are working on. The reviews are listed separately depending on whether they are in your personal account or in an institutional account. Under your profile, you can see any institutional memberships you have, and you can also update your email address. To start a new review, click here. Fill in some information, including giving the review a unique title, and then enter the rest of the details. Finally, select the account that you want the review to be saved in, and click Create Review, and you're ready to go. Let's take a look at an active review. So the first page you see when you enter a review is this review summary page. This is the standard review project framework, which is automatically generated when you create a new review in Covidence. There are three main steps in any Covidence review: the title and abstract screening, the full text review, and extraction. You can also manage the review settings, import references, view the PRISMA figure, and export data from this page. Let's begin by looking at how you can set up and manage the review to optimize the experience in settings. There are 5 buttons in settings which help you to manage the review and the review team and to speed up the process. The first of these is the Review Settings tab. Here you can update the name of your review, type in the review area and the review type if necessary. You can also add the details of the date of the last search, the search strategy, any existing citations if your review is an update. And then you can also select how this review is going to function, such as how many reviewers are required to screen for both the title and abstract, and the screening and the full text review screening. The default in Covidence is dual reviewer, and you can also choose whether you want to use extraction 1 or extraction 2. Extraction 1 is better suited to intervention reviews and is required for Cochrane reviews. It needs 2 reviewers to complete data extraction and quality assessment. Extraction 2 can be used for any review type, including intervention, qualitative and scoping reviews, and it allows for single reviewer data extraction and quality assessment. In this demo, we're going to use extraction 2. The Reviewers tab is where you can invite and remove reviewers. If you have a paid account or are part of an institutional account, you can invite an unlimited number of co-reviewers. Team Settings gives you an overview of the team's work, the individual members' progress for the screening, so that you can keep an eye on how much screening has been done and how much screening is left to do. You can set rules on who can screen and resolve conflicts. And you can do that for the title and abstract screening as well as the full text review stage. The next tab is Eligibility Criteria. Here you can add the review inclusion and exclusion criteria following a PICO framework. These criteria can then be viewed during screening, and there is a link to our knowledge base for more information about this feature. You can add inclusion and exclusion words or phrases also, and these will appear as highlights in the title and abstract and the full text screening. We'll look at those in just a moment. And from this page you can also add exclusion reasons for the full text review stage, and these exclusion reasons will appear in the PRISMA flow diagram. Finally, you can also edit your study tags here. These are useful to identify groups of studies such as those that you want to use for background or include a population of interest, and they can be identified using the filter function. So that's a brief overview of settings. We provide a more in-depth information in our step-by-step webinar on setting up your review, and there's also additional information on this section in our knowledge base. Let's go back to the main dashboard and look at the import function. This is where you bring references into your review. You can import an unlimited number of references. There is a file size limit per batch of about 15,000 references or 50 megabytes, but you can import as many batches as necessary to meet the requirements of your review. Covidence currently supports 3 formats for file import: EndNote XML, PubMed text format, and RIS text. So here you can select the category, which is the stage or the step of your review process that the references will appear in. Most users will select screen here to import them into the title and abstract screening section. But if you've done screening outside of Covidence, you could also bring them straight into the included, excluded, or irrelevant sections of your review. You can then keep track of which database or other source the references in your review came from by selecting the source here. You can use managed sources to add custom sources if you need them. I'm going to say PubMed. And then you can choose the locally saved file from your computer and import it into Covidence. So I'm going to do that now. And this can take a few minutes depending on how many references you are importing. So I'll pause there while the import finishes. Okay, my import is completed, and if I click on import references here and click view details, I'll go to the import history page, and here I can see the date that the references were imported, the number of references that were added to screening, the number of references that were duplicates, and any system created or user created merges. So it's possible to undo an import if you haven't already started screening. But if you have started screening, you cannot undo that import. You would need to contact the support team to request that we reset that review for you. So upon import, Covidence automatically detects duplicate references against all the studies within the import and against any previous imports within that review. Let's take a look. These are the auto-mark duplicates. You can also manually mark duplicates if you spot any that have slipped through the net. And if that was done in error, you can select not a duplicate to send it back to the screening list. So there are more details on importing references in our step-by-step webinar on setting up your review. And again, you can always find more information on our knowledge base. Let's go back to the review summary page and look at title and abstract screening. As you can see on the left-hand side, you have the team progress bar. This view is exactly the same for all reviewers working on the review, and it gives an overview of the status. Whereas on the right-hand side, the number you see is going to depend on how much screening each reviewer has done and what is still available. So this review differs for each person. And if I click continue, I'll get taken to the list of titles and abstracts that is available for me to screen. There are some features here that will help speed up the screening process. For example, I can either show or hide abstracts. I can display criteria. These are the inclusion and exclusion criteria based on the PICO framework that we looked at in the settings. And hide those, and I can also show or hide highlights. So these green highlights that you can see at the moment are inclusion keywords, so I can show or hide those too. So at this point, I will be making decisions based on a no, a maybe, or a yes, and the specific inclusion and exclusion criteria for my review. And when I click on the relevant button, you'll see those references disappear from the screening list, and they'll move now to a different place in the review depending on how I voted. If I decide that I made a mistake at any point, I can also undo my vote and easily recast it. If you are working in dual reviewer mode and you're the first person to vote, then the studies that you vote on will move to the Awaiting Other Reviewer tab. And from here you can see that it's actually possible to change the vote that you've made from the one that you've already chosen by using the buttons here. But once a second vote has been cast, you can no longer change your vote. If both reviewers have voted no, then the reference will move into this irrelevant references list. If both voted yes or maybe, then the reference will move straight on to full text screening. And if one reviewer voted no and the other voted yes or maybe, then the reference will appear in this resolve conflicts list, where a final decision will need to be made by clicking on one of the buttons. Because of blinding, it's not possible to see here how each person has voted up to now. We can just see who has voted. So among our newer features in the title and abstract screening is the most relevant sort option. This is a default option, so you don't need to activate this. It will be there automatically for you. So this is a feature based on a machine learning algorithm which identifies trends in your screening behaviour and uses them to sort the studies, to display them in an order where those that are most likely to be included will go to the top of the list. And the more studies you screen, the stronger this prediction algorithm will become. Tagging, you can choose to tag either everything or individual studies by using these checkboxes and adding a tag. Let's add one to this now, let's say background reading, and that will then add the tag, oh this already had that tag, to that study. And then you can also use the filter option to filter on those tags. So if I say background reading here and filter, you'll see that the study with that tag now shows up here. You can also use this filter box to add search terms as well as tags. So if I add a word that I can see in the abstract below, that word now comes up in bold italic, so you can pick that out of your filtered list if you need to. You also have the ability, if I hide this filter box, to add notes in title and abstract. So I can do that now and click add. This feature is not blinded, so and that applies to tagging as well. So anything that you add either as a tag or as a note will be visible to the other members of your team. And the tags and the notes will also be present in the export. If you export studies from this stage, they will include in a separate column any tags and notes that you have added. Now let's take a look at full text review. This is the section where you can attach a full text PDF to your study. And if the article is open access, Covidence will try to retrieve the PDF automatically when the studies move into full text. So you can find the studies that already have full texts added by Covidence by filtering on Has Full Text. And you can see these here, say full text uploaded by Covidence, open access. So for the remainder, let's look at those that now need full text. This gives me another list, and here I have several options for how I can do that. So I can upload my PDFs individually, either by selecting a locally saved PDF or by using the drag and drop feature. So let me get rid of this filter box. So to upload a full text, I can just, for example, do that. Or I can click through to the DOI. Let's try that for this study here. So that's another way to see if you might have access via your institution. And the third way is to use our bulk PDF upload tool, which is displayed here in the top right of screen. This is a process whereby you'll export the list of studies that still need the full text, import that list into your reference manager, use the reference manager to source the PDFs, and then export PDF plus XML to a local drive, and then bring everything back into Covidence. I won't go into that process in detail here because it does take quite a long time. but we have got detailed instructions about that on our knowledge base. And we also run a separate step-by-step webinar in our step-by-step series that gives more details on how to retrieve and upload full texts in Covidence. So the only voting options in full text review are either include or exclude. If you vote to exclude, you are asked to give a reason, and the list of reasons are those that we looked at in settings, and they can be displayed here, and you can also edit the list here as well. Showing and hiding the abstracts, filtering, tagging and other features all align with what we saw in the title and abstract screening section. One difference though is the conflicts. So there are two types of conflicts that can arise in full text review. The first is that the reviewers agree to exclude but give different reasons. And that's an example of that can be seen in this first study here. And the second type of conflict here is that one person has voted include and one person has voted exclude, and again a decision needs to be made as to which one is the final decision. Now let's look at extraction, and specifically Covidence's Extraction 2 tool. So this is a tool that we recommend for non-intervention reviews. That means reviews of observational data, qualitative data. Those are what we call non-intervention reviews, and for those types of review we recommend Extraction 2. So this is what it looks like. If I click continue here, we go through to the extraction page where you've got the study on the left and the extraction status over here on the right. Now, before you can do anything in extraction, you have to create and save a template. That process has already happened on this particular review, so now I'm going to switch to a review that's empty so I can demonstrate what happens when you set up the extraction template for the first time. You go to this blue button here, Data Extraction Template, and then you'll be taken to the default extraction template. So this is already set up for you in Covidence. It's unlikely that it will be completely and exactly what you need, but there's a few things in here. We've given you a few headings, there's some notes, some checkboxes. For example, you can add more fields here depending on what you'd like to select. And you can also move around what's already here by just dragging and dropping like I'm doing now. So this is editable, and if you decide you want to clear it all and completely start from scratch, then you can do that too. What you set up here in this main editor pane will be previewed for you over here on the right, and it's this preview that this will basically be what you see when you start to extract data, and we'll look at that in just a second. So this is how the editor works. You can save as a draft if you haven't quite finished and you're not ready to release it to your team, but once you are, you can select publish, and then that data extract, this template will drive the form that you use to extract the data from your studies. So that's a very brief note on how to set up and publish the template. And you'll see that if I scroll past the general information and the characteristics of included studies, that I've then got a format that roughly aligns with the PICO, the population intervention control and outcome. You can see I've got my participants here, and then I can scroll down and look at the intervention itself, comparisons and outcomes. Now let's imagine that the review that we're working on is, as I say, a non-intervention review like the one that we've been looking at, impact of social media use on body image. So that doesn't follow a PICO structure, so you would have to edit this template for the needs of your project by adding, for example, details of the exposure, which would be, in the case of our example review, I'll switch back to it now, impact of social media use on body image in university students. So we'll take a look now at the data extraction template in this review, so you'll see the modifications and the edits that we've made to make this form suitable for a non-intervention review. So this is the same view as we had just now in the empty review, but the changes that have been made here are, as I say, along the lines of formatting it for the specific needs of this review. So we've got the population here and some information about that, some notes, and then we go on to exposure, which in our case is social media use, outcomes, which are body image, and then we've got some tables set up to record information on certain themes. So that is what's happening if we look over in the preview section for that template. I won't make any changes to that, but I'll go back and show you what it looks like in action when that template drives the form in the extraction itself. So we're going to take a look at this study here, number 1. I already begun extraction on this, so if I click continue, what we have now is a view of the paper itself, and I can also display either thumbnails for quick navigation, or also an outline view if I want to, so I can just skip to the part that I need, and then extract the information into the form. This data extraction form, driven by the template that I've just shown you, is here. So you will essentially copy and paste information over from the paper here on the left into the form, and then save that information. When you're finished, you can send it for consensus if you are working in dual reviewer mode. If you're working in single reviewer mode, there is no consensus step because, of course, there's only one set of data in that case. So this is the completed data extraction form. You can see on the themes we've set up the first topic as body positivity, and you can collect some quotes in the tables if you'd like to. We've got a second theme, and again some participants and some quotes saved against those, and information, as I say, extracted from the PDF into these free text fields. So that is the data extraction step. Now we're still in extraction, but you can see that I can tab over to quality assessment from this view. Now, once again, the quality assessment tool that's the default in Covidence, and I will just switch to a blank review to show you what it looks like, is this one. It's the Cochrane Risk of Bias 1 tool, and it looks like this. Now, if that tool is not suitable for your non-intervention, perhaps non-medical review, that's fine. You can, again, customize this template to whatever it is you need, or you can start from scratch. So what we've done in the impact of social media use on body image is set up the CASP qualitative studies checklist. And you can see, if I scroll through, that the choices, or the quality assessment that I will do is now based on that checklist, not the Covidence default one. So you need to edit the template in the same way that we just saw for data extraction for the quality assessment, and then use this tool to assess the risk of bias in this study, like this. All the decision-making activity in your review is recorded as you work in this PRISMA flow diagram, which you can view as text or export or download as a docx file. And finally, you can export the data by clicking here. There are various options. You can export lists of references in different formats. You can export inter-rater reliability data for each stage of the screening process, title and abstract and full text. And you can export your extracted data. So if you click on the option that you'd like there and select prepare file, then that will become available for you to download. And once you download that, it's a CSV file, And an example of what that would look like when you open it in a spreadsheet is this. So you've got your studies in the rows, and the columns across the top are the fields from your data extraction form.